All right, hold up. Now you can do it.
Good evening. Today is Tuesday, August 12th, 2025. Time is 6:03 p.m. at the Williston City Council's second budget workshop. At this time, we will have roll call by Ms. Wright.
Mayor Goodman, absent. President Hinds.
Here.
Vice President Cox.
Here.
Councilmember Martin.
Here.
Councilmember Riccio.
Here.
Councilmember Jones.
Here.
City Manager Sue Beaudet.
Here.
Attorney Kiersten Ballou, absent. Finance Director Stephen Bloom. City Clerk Latricia Wright, I am here, and all other staff.
Here.
Thank you.
We will have opening prayer and pledge of allegiance led by Chief Bull. All right.
What? Yeah, I'm used to the mayor having it. Let's turn it off. Go ahead.
All right, let us pray. Dear Lord, as we come here today, gathered for this second budget workshop, Lord, we ask that you guide and protect our leaders, give them wisdom and knowledge as they make tough decisions that affect our city. Lord, we ask that today be a blessed day, a day of peace and comfort among all of us, and that as our leaders make decisions, that these decisions are made for the betterment of our community and for the betterment of all. We ask all these blessings in your name. Amen. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, we will have public participation. You will be allotted 5 minutes to speak. Please state your name. Please state your name and where you're from. And you can speak on anything that's not on your name.
Tim Ecker, Northwest 225. I'm just curious, as the city won't put anything in the budget for the roads to be repaired that's really necessary. And how much money does the city make on the electric bills that come in? Just trying to find some information. Thank you.
Will there be anyone else who would like to speak? If not, we will move on to item 3. Review of revised budget 2025-2026 and budget-related matters. Finance Director Stephen Bloom.
Okay, good evening. Welcome to the number 2 of your workshops. The last time I covered a lot of slides. This time through, I'm really only going to cover kind of the differences. What changed? I know there's a lot of numbers, and getting a second thick book like this to go back through is challenging. So I wanted to cover the big picture items as to what really changed. A lot of these are items from your first workshop, so it's not necessarily anything new. A couple of them are ones that were already planned as we were trying to bridge a gap in the utility fund. But obviously, in terms of our goals, we really want to kind of get into the changes and then really open it back up for questions now that you've had a little bit more time to digest and maybe see what this next version is. So we go right into it here. Before I forget, this is kind of the rest of the calendar. I still have highlighted in there. Again, you have one more workshop if needed. And then from there, the 2 public hearings are in September. They have to be in September. They have to be after 5 o'clock. They're both, we put them in at 6 p.m. And again, those are the requirements. And obviously, we've got to advertise before the second public hearing. The first public hearing is done through the trim notice. And what I'm realizing here that I want to remind everyone is you have a fire assessment meeting on September 10th. I think that I forget which meeting you guys were talking about that, but did one I should have put on here. But that's an important one. Obviously, that's your first going through on the fire assessment. You want to make sure everybody's comfortable with that. So, okay. So from there, again, right into some of the changes. When you look at your total citywide budget and you compare it to your current year budget, 0.3% increase is pretty much nothing in terms of that. Now, a lot of that is a fluctuation in capital between different projects. So I always like to show the number without capital projects. So it's about a 6.3% increase. Again, we're talking about the second version of the budget. All of the funds are balanced now, this version. And again, obviously, it's open to have more discussions, make changes. That's the whole part of this. But right now, you're going into it with a fully balanced budget, utility, fiber, airport, CRA, general fund is all balanced, even after all the changes that we talked about and made. In terms of the wages, now, excuse me, the 3% is in there, but I did take out for open positions. We talked about that at the last workshop, so all of those are taken out. The police department has their 7% that we talked about, which is, again, was the 3 that was already there, plus the 4, and as a reminder, that money is offset by the chief not purchasing a vehicle, as well as additional revenue coming in through the traffic cameras. So that is kind of covering that. The millage rate. So we went into the last version with a 7.0 millage rate. This version is back to 6.75. And remember, that's been the same millage rate that we've had for 4 or 5 years. It's just been flat. We reduced the permitting revenue down to $150K. On good news, the premiums that you guys approved at your last meeting, that's about a 5.1% reduction compared to what was in the budget. And I think it was like $500 per person savings. So, again, that's already flowing through here. It certainly helps. Increased fireworks to $50K. Was asked about the Cornelius project. We've got $300,000 in there now. Again, that's funded by grants, so it's not like that there's any funding gap in that wise. The traffic fines, and again, slow me down if I'm going too fast. I want to give you guys plenty of time to ask other questions. Traffic fines, we increased it a little bit to $200K. Again, very conservative with this number. First year through, we'll have to see how it goes. We're very hopeful that it's better, but the general fund, mostly through the premiums being reduced, we were able to increase the reserve, and we talked about the reserve needing to go up, so we increased it to 155. And again, that is obviously first time you're seeing that, so certainly could have other discussions where that might be needed, but again, we're definitely making this push to keep trying to get as much as we can into reserves. And then the utility as well, again, the reduction in the premiums, we put that into the cash reserves, and that's $315,000. Some more good news. We've talked about before about the over-reliance on the transfer from the utility fund. This particular version of the budget is now down. I say down, but it is a reduction to $1.39 million that's being transferred. Your current year, so you can know, is about 1.54. So again, it's similar to what we're always trying to do with managed expenses. This is one of those things that over time, the goal needs to be to reduce that over-reliance for many reasons. No cash reserves are being used in this budget anywhere. Again, important part of that. On the airport, it was requested to switch one position from part-time to full-time. Airport covers itself. So there is revenue there to cover this change. It's nothing that affects anybody else. In terms of your utility rates, did not make any changes in what was in the prior budget. There's still the, whatever the proposed increases from your rate consultants included. You've already, been told and discussed the solid waste rate increase in order so that the city is not losing money on that particular service. There's an increase in there as well. Again, it just didn't roll. One up, please. Yeah.
Slide number 5, please.
It's a continuation. I'll just keep going. I put on there about the fire assessment. Just want to keep that in the front of your mind about that being in your budget. And then since the last version, the utility department really went through and scrubbed every line. I mean, one by one for every service to try and squeeze as much out. Whatever, a couple thousand here, a couple thousand there. They really spent the time. Obviously, Donald, Jonathan, and the team did that. So those are kind of the big picture. I mean, obviously there were some other smaller things that were requested. We moved the purchasing allocation of salaries a little more to fire than it was before. I think there's a couple other allocation changes. It really doesn't affect the dollars, but it was just requested, and that was done. You can roll to the next one. So, we talk about year to year. We look at the budgets. This kind of chart just shows you a little bit of a trend over time. It is what it is. I mean, it's not like you can go back, but you look at for example, your personnel or personal services. Back in 2022, it was a little bit under 4.5 million. That's personnel. Obviously, that's all the benefits, pension, premiums, workers' comp, all that good stuff that's rolled into that line. Your budget for next year is 7.1. So again, you're asked, I'm sure, quite a bit of why is the budget going up, and I wanted to show you, some historical information to give you some context to that. Operating, back then 5.7 and almost a little over 9.8. Debt service, it's easy to tell you here the loans you have outstanding. Capital goes from year to year, but those two lines, when you see that, even year over year, that's an increase of about 1.9 million. Some of that is really an adjustment in your fuel costs with power. But, I just wanted to bring that up because I know even at your last council meeting, it was asked about some of the increases in rates. I mean, the animal shelter is new within the last couple of years. There's not like there's a revenue source for that, so that has to be funded somewhere. You've had quite a few compliance, come through and say, guys, you have to have X number of people here, maybe compared to where they were 3 or 4 years ago, and Donald and the team can go into that. And then obviously the rising costs, pension, insurance premiums, workers' comps. I just wanted to kind of give some conceptual history on where this is going. These things are driven by factors, fuel that are outside of the city's control, and nationwide concerns that you're facing, the same like any city, whatever size. Cost of material. I forget which council meeting it is where you had to spend a couple hours talking about poles. How much do they cost? Which kind? How are you going to fund them? Again, that's stuff every city that has a utility goes through, and it's not something that you can, say, hey, I'm just going to not pay that amount. You have to get your poles. So I want to just provide a little bit of perspective, just some food for thought. Certainly, you can go through in a lot more details than what you're seeing there, but it just kind of, when I saw it and I look at this over the years, it's like, wow, that's only 5 years, and just so much in the economy as a whole. And certainly some growth is into that. But again, it gives some perspective. We talked about the reserves. I haven't changed anything on the amounts. Again, you heard from the auditors. It's something we haven't talked about before. They say 25%. It's really kind of a great number. Not everybody's. Few cities do that 25%. I think it's just a reminder to draw a line. You know, we're not going to spend any more out of reserves. Like I've told staff, we're not going to be putting infrastructure through our cash reserves. It's just in this day and time with, you know, issues like hurricane costs, you know, it's just better to finance these projects very similar to what you did with Williston Fiber, where you're funding the ROI over 15, 20 years when everyone's going to be putting in to pay off that loan versus using cash out. It's just a little bit of a change in what you maybe would have done 5 years ago, what other cities would have done 5 years ago when maybe it was more expensive to borrow, people more reluctant to build that up. Now you got to do it a little bit more balanced approach, and so that's really kind of why we're just going to constantly be making sure we're looking in on our cash reserves. I mean, the city does a great job of staff looking for grants. You know, every time I'm always impressed with just the volume for a city of your size that you're looking for. You don't get them all, but that's always the first thing everyone's thinking about. Well, where can I get a grant? Whatever it is, whether it's safety cones or anything. But beyond that, obviously, building a cash reserve. I mean, the last couple of years, just with the hurricanes, you know, when your auditor was talking about the general fund, that's really because of hurricanes. Before those hurricanes, and that was like a couple $100,000. It's not like you can plan. You can't tax for that. You just have to go with it. Hope FEMA eventually comes through. So, I think that's it.
Stephen, I have a question for you.
Sure.
I know the auditor said they would like 25%.
Yep.
Where are we at?
It depends on the fund. I think she said 6. She includes some longer term things between the funds. I don't, but you know, my goal would be more like 10 to 15% for you. I'm not, because you have a utility. Because you know some cities don't have that utility. They get their most of their money once a year. You know, the taxes. They don't really have the flexibility. When you have a utility where you're getting funds every month, you have a lot more flexibility. You know, based on kind of the contribution, I would want to get you guys at least 10%, closer to 15, as you go slowly. Not like, hey, we're going to do this tomorrow. We're not going to put that burden, but we're going to draw the line in the sand. We're not going to like if you remember 2 or 3 years ago, we would use a vehicle in the general fund, and we would use a little bit of our cash reserves. It's kind of like the slow drip of oil change on a car. Now we're just we're buttoning that up and saying no. And that's staff has been doing a great job of making sure, they bring in additional revenue sources to do that. But yeah, and I think what the auditors are trying to get you, anybody when they make this discussion, because I've seen them do it for many cities, is always be thinking about your cash reserves. 25% is great. It's very few cities, unless you've got super commercial, it's going to have 25%. And if, again, for a utility, you probably don't want it, but you want to be closer to 10 to 15. That's where I would feel comfortable, and I'd be comfortable presenting to you that number. And that's why when you look at your budget now, we've got those lines in there. We're going to be hard and fast on those lines. When you get changes from staff, the answer, normally used to be, well, where's that coming from? I've heard you guys ask that over and over again. If now when they come to you, they're going to have to be, well, where are we cut to buy this? Because they've got good budgets, they've got everything in here. They're going to buy this, then what aren't they going to get? Because they're not touching that cash reserve line. It's a little bit different. We have a little more flexibility. So I'll let you know now, staff already knows this. We get grants, we get additional revenue, because there's still a lot of growth hopeful in utility partners. Then you can use that. But otherwise, it's not going to be. There's no one's going to bring to you a request to use cash reserves.
$1.5 million.
That's your 25%.
That's 25%. Okay.
Yeah.
My question.
Yeah. And again, it's not like it's not something that you can get to. It's just like any other savings account. It's got to be consistent, annual. Every year you put a little bit in there. Don't touch it, and then once you look around and go, oh wow, it's $1.5 million, versus the other way. That's all we want to do. Is we always want it to be going up. And unfortunately, with where you're at with hurricanes. And, just as a reminder, we talk about FEMA coming through. Even when they do, some of this money, like we're hopefully about to get a little bit back. It's like 3 years ago, and you're not getting interest on that. So you're floating that for 3 years. So that's the other reason why, hey, we got to have maybe a little bit more in there to keep it covered, because you don't know what's going to come. Some years, many years, very fortunate. There's been very minimal. Hey, we got to fuel up the generators, get some supplies, and that's been it. But then you have a couple other years where you're down 100,000, 150,000, and you got to have something to cover that.
So at this rate, we're looking at 10 years before we're compliant with that.
Just being very conservative with it. Yeah. You got to also keep in mind, in your budget, it's not. I usually do a straight line approach. I take your total budget divided by 12 times 3. There are line items in there for capital that if there was an issue, you have to just, push it out, to help you manage your cash flow. So that's why it's really more about the process than it is about always trying to, hey, I'm going to, by 10 years, I'm going to get to 1.5. It's about, okay, what did you do this year? And just so you know, 2 years ago, the general fund made about $75,000. Good, very solid. And then hurricanes. And even this year, the hurricane, affected the beginning of your year to the tune of about 85,000.
Interest, you're referring to interest. The $75,000 came
No,
from
that was
interest?
the bottom line in the general fund.
Okay, gotcha.
And there have been many years where it's it's made 10, it's made 15,000. It's not like it's been an upside down approach. But then when you get a year with a hurricane, like you had in 2024, and then started in 2025, it just reinforces the need for your cash reserves. So anyways, that's at top level. Certainly, as always, I know there's topics that staff might want to cover. I have my old slides. I have old versions. I have the Excel file. Whatever, at the pleasure of the council.
So I have a question. On the staffing plan listed by department, utilities have lineman A. They have the old employee, Michael. Or is he still with us? Okay, so should that be put to 0 instead of left at 43? So put him. Wait a minute.
Yeah, switch it to open. I think
Okay.
you're talking about the increase. That was your.
Well, the increase, but have the what is hourly is going to be.
Yeah, I'll give it the staff.
Okay.
To see what I know there's a tremendous pressure on that particular position. Of all positions, that one has always had a tremendous pressure in terms of finding candidates at that price point. But I will certainly check in with the team and see what their plans are.
Utility line A.
Yeah, under utility service electric lineman A, that person no longer works here, so it's an open position. Just like the lineman apprentice below it. Probably starting to go down this line.
Sure. Because I got a few questions.
You do, I do too.
So
You go
all
first.
throughout.
You already started.
And mine's towards the back.
On page 4. On the staffing plan, we were talking about team count. I just think the team count for Williston Fiber should be 3 instead of 2. And if not, tell me why. I mean, it shows 3, but it says 2. It's the second page of the team count. That's it right there. Because it says there's 2 currently, that you're adding 1. But then it says the budget has 2,
Is that partial?
and the
Split
net
out.
change is 2. So
is
I
that-
don't
Is
understand.
that partial split out for the admin assistant?
No, I think I just need to zero that out.
I think it's
Because
not right.
it's not floating across. So when I zero that out, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
And that's all.
There's
I was
only 2.
saying.
I'm looking for because there's only 2.
Yeah.
Well, that fixed for the next version.
On the next page, under city administration, it's now showing the administrative assistant as full-time instead of part-time. Their hours are part-time still, but it's in the count. She's included as full-time. So if we're going to talk count, I'm just pointing that out. So should it be 6.5 instead of 7? That's what I'm saying. And if not, fine. I just noticed the discrepancy.
You're talking about the difference between the team count.
Yes, sir.
There's only one position in the city that I actually split because it's one person doing 2 places. Everybody else, whether they're part-time or full, they're 1.
Just count them as a 1 anyway.
Yeah, because years ago I used to do that, and then there was 0.25 here and 0.5 here. It was driving people crazy.
Well, yeah.
So
I realize you're not
just,
going to do that.
yeah, except for that one person who really literally does half the position in one and then half the other. Otherwise, there is no half of, even if they are part-time. I just want to make sure I do have, within the staffing plan, I have that listed as part-time for a total of
You do.
1,660
Yeah, you do.
hours.
It was just the count that I didn't think was right. And under the animal control, it looks like we have taken away a cleaning person.
Moved down into facilities.
I did notice that.
So it's really just was requested to be moved to. So it's just basically that whole dollar amount, the whole position just got moved down. There's no allocation. It's all still in the general fund.
And in the police department, the police captain is really a major. Yeah. And I know I'm being picky here, but
No, this is the time to do this.
and on the next page, is the public works administrator an administrator or a supervisor? I don't know the real title. Everybody else is supervisor. That's why I'm asking that question.
I believe and that it's public works administrator, but
Ask HR ought to be able to give us that answer, or be able to look it up for us anyway.
In Edmonds, he is listed as the administrator.
Okay. And that must have changed because he was a.
That I have no idea.
yeah, I don't know when it was changed. It was just requested of me during our department meetings that this position was converted to public works administrator.
And who told you that? Donald did?
Yeah. Unless again, apologize if I misunderstood something. We did not change, in other words, we did not change Edmonds for anything. So I don't know that part of it would change that up. Okay, but I guess, Mr. Barber, am I way off on this?
That was your former city manager, part of the change up for staffing plans, all that kind of stuff. We have a field supervisor that the former city manager created, and that field supervisor supervises the staff directly, and I have more administration. I handle the resolutions, the ordinances, administrative tasks. So that was a change that I didn't make, somebody else made.
Who made it?
I just said the former city manager.
Okay, so when I asked for the hierarchy of how things went, you were under supervisor. You were not administrative.
I don't produce those papers this time. You ask me a question, I'm giving you the answer.
And I didn't know it either. That's why I asked. That's one of my
You
questions.
can call me whatever you like. It's irrelevant.
Yeah, no, it was on the budget last year. That's why I did make that change.
I mean, the electric supervisor is supervisor, not administrator. He does essentially the same thing as administrator.
Terry, this is the change that Terry made back in October.
Just before you
I
left?
don't know that he changed the title.
Well, when I asked Sue, since she has been here, to give it to me, he is listed as a supervisor. That is the hierarchy of it. And then you have John. So our question is, if it's been changed, when was it changed? But if the supervisor, the director doesn't know. The city manager doesn't know. We're trying to figure out when it's changed. Well, if he didn't tell his person who relieved him for the city manager position, then just saying that he's the one that did it, and then for me to ask for the plan, and it doesn't show him as an administrator, saying that he did it, and then Mr. Barber told him to change it, which is not what he should be doing. If it's going to come from anybody, it should come from the city manager.
Do you want us to change it back to supervisor?
I would just say let's pull the paperwork and see it. Just track the paperwork and see if it was changed on the paper.
That's it. Okay.
That
I don't think
city
us
manager
asking-
Brevard did. If he did, then he did.
He did. Yeah.
But we were unaware of it. And it looks to me like Mr. Miller was moved from gas to water. Is that a true statement? I mean, his from the last budget sheet to this budget sheet, he's been moved.
Mr. Zachary Miller?
The
locator position for budgetary purposes was put into the gas department. So he was interviewed and accepted the locator position that the council created. That position is being specifically placed in the gas department. So that's why you see the switch. He changed positions.
Except it's showing in water. That's why I'm asking the question. In the last one we had 2 weeks ago, he was in gas. Now he's in water.
Well,
Which is perfectly fine. That's where you want him.
I don't know the change beyond that. The previous budget, he was put into that because of the locator. If
And I'm okay with that.
Stephen found a way to balance the water, that may have been something that was done on
Yeah,
the financial side.
that was specifically done just because when you look at your gas services,
budgetary issue.
Yeah, it was really more about, it was one of those in-between positions, and gas, which we are really, really trying to find ways to get that service to stand on its own. That was a smaller way to kind of move it, so we've had that discussion.
So he got moved to water.
He just got moved to water. Yes.
Okay. And like I said, I'm fine with that. It was just the difference from last budget to this one, and that's why I'm talking about it. I see that the electric department adjustments are entered here. I know it's a totally different issue on the 2023 dollars. I assume we're going to try to do that out of this budget that we're currently in, instead of the one we're talking about tonight. Okay, or is that not a subject for tonight? I just want to make sure we don't forget about it.
So just to follow up with that, there is money in our 2025 budget, or 2024-2025 budget to cover the back pay, including, because it's not just, we talked ballpark 50 to 60,000. We've got that.
I think you will by year end because you got some more open positions, to do it. And again, it's one of those things where unless you can split it between 2 years, you're gonna have to take it at some point.
And I never heard the dollar amount. I know Selena was working on it, but I never heard it. So I hope
I did it.
Come up with that.
I did it. I did it.
Oh, you did it. I
I
started
did
to say, who's saying that?
Yeah.
Who said that? I was looking straight at Selena, and I knew she wasn't doing it. I said,
Yeah, I did it. The 50 to 60 covers a little bit more. Do you want me to talk about it today, Meredith? You want me to wait for it to come on the agenda? So if we back pay, there is a spreadsheet. It's on the next agenda of everything where who has what certs, when they were signed, who they were signed by, when they were sent to Infomark, the ones that I could find. I searched emails. It was an extensive audit. And then whether they were updated in Edmonds is also on there. But if we back pay a group of people back to 2023, when you look at this spreadsheet of when the PAFs were dated, that's opening up a whole different can, and I was asked to give a rough estimate just based on what I'd seen. Looking at the dates of the certs and then the dates of the PAFs and the effective dates and everything, that's opening up, how do I put it? That's about the rough figure if we do it for one, we do it for all type thing. Cool.
I mean, I don't have anything else on that. I think that's what we want to hear. If it's on the next budget, that's on the next agenda. That's all we can discuss it there. Again, as we've discussed, I saw we added in-house cleaning.
I didn't add it. It just got moved.
It got moved.
Yeah, there's no additional dollars in there for in-house cleaning.
Okay. Well, no, it's the same dollars, but it's not an outside service. That's why I'm saying it's in-house. I mean, this is an in-house employee, not a
right. That
not
position was already in the last version.
Oh, right.
Just under animal control.
Oh, right. It got moved from animal control to here.
Yeah, you had something. You still have police on.
It's the same
I didn't
person.
change the police.
Use your mic, please.
Yeah, I did not change the police. It's still under the police department now, but that was the position that was always in 2 places.
And it is the same man.
What do you mean the same man?
If that's a man, maybe a woman. It's one of those names.
So what you're saying, Stephen, is that the cleaning allowance for the cleaning person for the PD is still in the PD's budget? Okay, great.
Yes.
It's just now also in facilities. And I see where you moved Benton's person from part-time to full-time. And again, you said you're not splitting the 0.5s there.
Nope.
So you called it 7, even though it's 6.5. That's all I have in that area.
While we're on the staffing plan, can we talk about replacement for Laura? It's a good time to talk about that. So, I put on the dais tonight 2 pieces of paper that Laura and I have been working on. And I'm also going to have Mr. McMillan's going to get up and talk for a minute as well, because they were just notified of the CRA board last night of Laura's departure. So the first page, this is just an option that I'm giving you guys. Of course, we're going to have several options on the table, but the first page shows Laura's current position as the Community Development Manager, shows her current responsibilities, planning, community development, zoning and compliance, planning and zoning board meetings, permitting, grant writing, grant management, CRA director, and CRA board meetings. Then it also has her other duties that really aren't part of planning and zoning, code enforcement, site inspections, reports, board meetings for code enforcement, animal control, which would be animal calls, and board meetings for, again, code enforcement. Then, of course, we had a animal shelter manager who's no longer with us. Down at the bottom, it shows the current staff, and these are at the wages that are coming out of the staffing plan. So you've got the city manager city planner position at $32.41. She's exempt. The planning assistant at $20.15. Permit tech at $16.15. Shelter manager at $16.88. We have 2 part-time techs that work at the animal shelter that make $14.42. And then code enforcement / animal control, which is Christy, we just hired recently at $23.17. So currently, all in, of course this is not benefits, but salary, we're spending $256,214 on that. One option to replace Laura is to hire, I'm calling it a community development director, which would basically be, he or she would be over the planning assistant and the permit tech. She keeps all of the duties that she currently has under basically planning. Then we would hire a separate person to do community development management. So that person would be over the 2 kennel techs, and then hiring a part-time assistant to help out. So basically that person would handle just the animal control and just animal shelter. Just have to go this route. Code enforcement, Chief Rolls has been talking about taking that back on. Apparently the police department had that back in the day. I just put that at $25 an hour. What this would give you is the ability to do proactive code enforcement rather than reactive. Of course, right now, everything is just you make a complaint, we respond to it, but we don't drive around the city and try and cite anybody. If we had somebody full-time, we could actually do proactive code enforcement. I'm recommending we increase the salary for the community development director. So again, this would be for his replacement to $70,000, and that would be an exempt position. The planning assistant, permit tech would remain the same. The community development manager, again, would be an exempt position at $55,000. The kennel tech stays the same. We would do an assistant at, say, $15 an hour. If we did this, it would be a net increase of about $57,000. Stephen and I talked about that. That, of course, could come out of some of the reserves that we just talked about in the slides. That's one option. The second option, of course, is, we don't have to have the code enforcement go over to the PD. We could keep it under this community development manager. Again, it would stay reactive, not proactive at that point. A couple different options, and I don't know how much you've been paying attention to planners these days, but City of Alachua is looking for a planner. The city of Newberry is looking for a planner. Levy County is looking for a planner. They are in pretty short demand right now, so it's going to be pretty difficult to find a replacement for Laura. So we may want to look at outsourcing that for a period of time to either like JB Pro to take it on, like they did for the county, or in Bronson I use SafeBuilt. SafeBuilt actually uses a company called Galvin Giordana, who's out of Tampa. They did our planning, zoning, all that sort of thing. So we've got options, but this was just one I kind of wanted to put out there that Laura and I had come up with. And like I said, I'd like Steve to actually talk about a couple options that he's put together in terms of the CRA as well.
Hello, Steve McMillan. I'm here as the chair of the CRA board tonight. Last night we got news under staff announcements that Laura was leaving, and we threw around a bunch of ideas because the CRA is paying for 50% of Laura's salary and Nikki's salary, and we think we might be pulling that and going to a third party. We have an option to go to a third party person that just does CRA. The second option would be to wait and see. It doesn't have to be a city employee. To wait and see if the city planner that you hire, if you sub out to JB Pro, they're not going to have a CRA director that we can just grab. If you sub out to, well, if you hire somebody, they may or may not want or have anything to do with the CRA. But plus we sunset in about 4 years naturally, so that money would be dissolved anyways. So this might be the right time for let us take our money and go sub out to CRA.com or whatever we need to do to. We haven't gotten that far yet. This was just last night. We threw around some ideas. They wanted me to come and just talk to you about that. We didn't want it to be a slap in the face. I met with Sue earlier today to talk about the 50%.
Ms. Jones, your opinion?
Well, he's talking about the CRA sunsetting in 4 years, which we think that the state is going to make us do. We're probably not going to be able to continue. And the CRA right now pays for half of your city planner. So they would like to maybe go elsewhere and get either a part-time person, because it is a part-time job, and either go to a consultant or a part-time person and just hire them directly.
Sounds good.
There's about 54 grand that y'all wouldn't have. That's why we didn't want to slap you in the face without letting you know. Appreciate that. Hey, no problem.
I have questions, not really for Mr. McMillan, so apologies, but should the CRA board head in a different direction, what's the likelihood, maybe this is more a question for Laura and Sue, that we will find a person who is willing to be a city planner and also manage an animal shelter and code enforcement, particularly given that they're in high demand at the moment?
So you're asking about what are the odds that we're going to hire Laura, basically?
Right, yes.
I mean, again, this is my personal opinion based on the fact that we have so many other municipalities around us looking for somebody who's just a planner and doesn't have to do all these other things. It's going to be very difficult. That's my opinion.
And I think it needs to be separated anyway. Laura did it because Laura loved it. I mean, she was an animal shelter or animal rescue person. And that's why she chose to do it. She loved it and still does, I'm sure. And hopefully will be one of our volunteers. But we'll never find anybody who'll do what she's doing because it's just two totally different things. They're almost at different odds. You're exactly right about that.
Yeah, so can we stay competitive with the salary, for a city planner, community development director? Can we stay competitive if the CRA is not? That's, I guess, my question. If the CRA, we lose that 50% from the CRA, can we stay competitive with that salary in the budget?
So you're asking if the CRA decides to take that portion with them.
Yep.
So then we lose that $54,000.
Yep. That's my question. I guess maybe more directed at Mr. Bloom. If that $54,000 is no longer part of this salary, how do we get to a competitive salary?
Well, and looking at this plan, I mean, this net increase that you're talking about would have to come out of the general fund. So I think that would be the missing piece that you would need. Again, it wouldn't be CRA because they're going to use their funds somewhere else. So that 57 would have to be used to keep it competitive. And it really then depends upon what the rest of this looks like, because you're not going to be able to find somebody who wears all these hats.
Right.
That's just
And we may have to go back to grant writing to Fred Fox, somebody who's actually a grant writer. It's hard to find a grant writer too, much less a combo like we've had with Laura.
So that's another thing on top of that we're going to have to pay for, in addition to a competitive salary plus possibly hiring a grant writer.
He's usually paid out of the administration of the grant. He's usually paid out of the grant itself. So, I mean, that's kind of a wash right there. Just have to contract with him to go and find something. And he's really good at doing that.
just keep in mind with that assumes you get the grant. A lot of these you're putting in. I mean, and again, that Laura and to the team's credit, they're throwing a lot of stuff up against the wall.
That we aren't having to pay for.
Basically back pennies on what they put out there.
Right.
So yeah, you could spend, and this has happened pre Laura, where the cities had to put out some money for some facility plans and different things, and wound up basically with nothing.
So I guess what I'm looking for tonight is some direction as to what you would prefer. Would you like us to just try and hire a Laura, or a Laura that just does the planning side, the zoning and planning side, and separate out this other position? Or what are your thoughts?
So is the increase of the $75 along with the shelter man CDM? Did that increase as well?
Yes.
Or was that the same
Well, it would be a new position. Right now, really, that would kind of replace the shelter manager, who we do not have one currently, and the code enforcement / animal control person. Kind of combining those two into one, if you will.
But
kind of, I'm lumping
police
animal control and
department
animal shelter
takes
together.
that, then what are we looking at related to salary?
So I put that on here as just $25 an hour to try to be competitive with your other officers. It's about the same, roughly.
So, I'm looking at your list, and you have code enforcement, but animal control and code enforcement are two combined together. So, are you separating code enforcement from animal control?
Yes.
Yeah, we have to do that too.
Are you going to send animal control and?
No.
Or are you asking me to take animal control
No.
and code enforcement?
Nope, he wouldn't take animal control. Because Christy really has been, because again, we haven't had an animal shelter manager. She's been kind of doing both. She's been doing animal control and animal shelter. Those two things, personally, I think, would be the best things to combine. They're very similar, if you will. I mean, you're dealing with dogs and cats and that sort of thing. But code enforcement, very separate. Again, if we want to bring that back to the PD to have you guys do proactive code enforcement, that would be all you would, but you would have to handle the whole thing. So you'd have to handle the inspections, reports, going to board meetings. This person would be full-time.
Which means that I would have to hire somebody, or is Christy coming?
I'd have to hire somebody.
I honestly think animal control is better under the police department.
We could do that too. It's just, again, she's been kind of doing that.
As long as he's got a good animal shelter manager. As they're running around picking up dogs and things, and half the time they have to call the police officer to come help them anyway.
Did the PD have animal control before when they had code enforcement? It was together.
Yeah.
We could do that, yeah. An option. I just didn't want to give you too much. You never said you want animal control, you always said code enforcement.
I mean, I'm all about the city. So whatever's best for the city and wherever we can help, I'm with it. As long as we understand that if we take animal control and we take code enforcement, Christy comes with it. She's already doing it now. So if I take animal control and code enforcement, that takes one duty from your community development manager.
Okay.
Which means you can go up to the next category, right, as a city planner and move some of those things from that job function down to your community development manager. Say, for instance, if we take animal control and code enforcement, maybe you can move permitting, grant writing, and grant management down to your community development manager. And that takes a lot of that load off the community development director. You see what I'm saying?
Sure.
Yeah, you could actually draw a line on the page and
Right.
have this person and there, or this person do somebody different.
Right.
But it would all depend on you having a really good shelter manager that you can count on.
I'm not getting the animal shelter, just animal control and animal and code enforcement. The animal shelter would have its own manager.
Well, not under what I said. I mean, we can. Obviously, we can do that. That's not how I proposed it here. We just talked about adding an additional assistant to the animal shelter.
Yeah, because what you have here is community development manager, and under that community development manager, you have animal shelter.
Right.
So that community development manager that you're going to hire will be responsible for the shelter.
Correct.
We would be responsible for animal control and code enforcement, so I wouldn't have the shelter.
Right.
Okay, great.
But if you drew a line right there, this is the community developer, and all this, including the shelter, are under code enforcement and animal control.
Ms. Debra,
You
don't have to point that out. We're trying to.
That's the way it was before.
Yeah, we're trying to come up with a plan here.
And it was awful. We had the I call it call it the pound. It wasn't really a shelter. It was an awful place. The cats and dogs were taken by the code enforcement person. Meaning they picked them up off the street.
Well, honestly, like City
That's why
Manager
we built
said,
a shelter.
if we're gonna have a proactive code enforcement, the code enforcement officer is not gonna have enough time to write reports, go to board meeting, do site inspections, and run an animal shelter.
That's why I said it depends on you having a really good shelter manager.
Yeah. So if
You could do it if you had a good manager.
yes. So I'm okay with animal control and code enforcement. I do not want the shelter. Thanks for offering, but no thanks.
I think animal control needs to stay with the shelter. Just my opinion.
I know I don't have an opinion, but I just want to know, is there option 3?
Yeah.
The option 3 to keep Laura.
Latricia, I tried that. That's why I put this whole thing together, was to try to get Laura to take that.
Can we hire you to do grants?
What are we doing for a shelter manager now that the shelter manager is no longer with us, Laura?
It's an open position we need to hire.
So we have no shelter manager.
Correct.
Thank you.
Christy's filling in.
Pardon?
Christy's filling in.
Wow. Okay.
You guys forget that our shelter manager has been gone for about 3 months, and Kim and Takia have been doing a great job holding that place down. Christy came in and fit right in with them, so those 3 ladies will be able to hold on for a little bit longer until you get that manager. As far as grants, I will write grants for the shelter on my free time, because I promised I would do that. But other than that, you got to hire me.
So, quick question about the shelter manager and animal control. And forgive my ignorance, but is there enough time in a given week for animal control officer to also manage the shelter, or are those 2 separate, very full-time jobs?
Animal control is not a full-time job. The problem with animal control is that it's an on-call job. So you're often working nights and weekends, which is something we do need to resolve for that person. Animal control and the shelter do work very well together. When you pick up a dog, you're going to take it to the shelter. The shelter girls are going to put it on Facebook. It's a team. So animal control, I thought that from being in the field, animal shelter and animal control should be together. But if Chief wants animal control, that's fine.
Does the animal shelter pickup person, Christy, does she do code enforcement also?
She was hired to be the code enforcement.
That's what I thought. It's not just animal control that she does.
Correct.
She does code enforcement.
Correct, but she hasn't gone to the code enforcement classes yet. She hasn't been fully trained in code enforcement yet.
But that is the intention of her hire.
It was, yes, sir.
Thank you.
I think either way it goes, you're going to have to, because if you do code enforcement and you're paying $25 an hour, and Stephen has to move that into the law enforcement budget, you're going to have to do the same thing as far as hiring somebody as a community development manager. So we already have one person, and this is something that the mayor can chime in on. If we take code enforcement and we take animal control, we're going to have to split those 2. Because there's not enough funding to hire another person, from what I'm told, if we split code enforcement and animal control. My understanding, there's not enough revenue there that if we do that, we're not going to have enough revenue to hire an animal control person. If you have one solid person for code enforcement.
There is no revenue. It essentially comes from general fund.
Exactly. So that's why I'm saying if we're going to take one, you have to take the other one because the money is combined together, correct? Animal control and code enforcement is combined together. There's that salary that you pay animal control officer and you pay code enforcement is combined together. Am I right, Stephen?
Yes.
Currently.
In other words, there's one position that's allocated to both.
Right. Currently, that's the way it is.
So if that's the case, either we're going to have to increase budget and hire another person, or we leave those two together. I mean, that's a decision we have to make.
Probably for the last 15 to 20 years they've been together.
Yes.
But we never had an animal shelter.
Yep. So, Mayor, your thoughts?
When we, as a city, we decided that we were wanting an animal shelter. At that point, we were accepting the responsibility of that animal shelter. I agree with Councilor Jones. We did not have an animal shelter. What we had was an embarrassment. Now we have an animal shelter. That shelter needs its own manager, not code enforcement and animal control trying to do a third job. You're going to have another Laura on your hands.
And that would be my question to Laura. Or if we take these things away from the community development manager position, would you consider the top half of this list? Or are you just walking away? Have you made up your mind?
No pressure, Laura.
We love you, Laura.
I appreciate it. I really do. I love you guys too. That's something Sue and I guess we can talk about in more depth.
I mean, if we made it the community development manager job that you want to do, rather than all this other stuff that's in the way, that needs to be done, but that you can't concentrate on the one you want to do because of.
No, if you look at my desk, it's all animal shelter stuff.
Yeah.
There's no planning on it right now.
Yeah.
Because that's what takes all of my time.
Right. And it shouldn't be that way.
Right.
And I know you'd rather be a planner right now. You got the shelter up and running, but I know you're ready to be a planner again. And I think that would be, if she's willing to even consider that, let's try to do that with her two people that she's got that are helping her now. I think maybe she would be happier. And then these other, the animal shelter as well as code enforcement, animal control, find somebody else. Even if you can find one person who's over all that, and it may be Christy. If, maybe Christy. And she has a really good manager that manages the shelter, and she's over them.
If you're taking codes enforcement chief, that's putting the animal shelter under you.
It essentially is. It's always been that way. Why don't you want this shelter? If you get a good person, it'll be fine.
I barely have enough manpower to run the police department. So that's, and I know that I've talked to Laura, the shelter requires a lot of time. And we just don't have that manpower to.
But if we're hiring somebody more than you'd have to hire someone whose heart was there. Yeah. It takes a heart for it. It really does. You still wouldn't want the animal shelter? And it's mostly the adoption events and that sort of thing. It's a lot more than we realize it is. They're out there on Saturdays and weekends and at festivals trying to get these dogs and cats adopted. It's all that, too, not just feeding a dog.
It's a lot. Laura doesn't tell you guys everything she does, but Laura will, text me or call me at 8 o'clock on a Saturday morning because there's a fight or there's a fight between dogs. It's like Laura said, it's 24/7.
And that's not you. That's the animal control person.
I've never lived someplace where the police dealt with the animal shelter. I'm sorry. I've lived in a lot of small towns. I've never lived anywhere where the police department also managed the animal shelter. That was always separate.
But that fight she's talking about, it needs cops. That's kind of how it happened.
It doesn't mean that the police department should be filling in for staffing voids at the animal shelter.
Yeah, the shelter has its own employees. He's just over them.
Okay, so
hypothetically.
Oh boy.
I'll say it. we're struggling to stay competitive to hire police officers because it's hard right now. So now, if the police department is over the animal shelter and we cannot find people to take care of the animals, the police officers are going to end up being down there dealing with this all the time, which makes our job even less desirable because I'm pretty sure most of these police officers didn't sign up to take care of dogs. They signed up to be police officers. So I don't think we should hamstring Chief Rolls in getting good police officers hired. I think that we should spend the money and we should get somebody who takes care of the animal shelter, and however the animal control and the police and code enforcement shake out. But the animal shelter, in my personal opinion, should not be under the purview of the police department or the fire department. In case that's suggested.
You're saying hire 3 people.
Chief Stiegel.
So hire 3 people, not 2.
Yep.
So, Ms. Debra,
I can comment on this for the fire department. Chief Stiegel doesn't have the heart for cats and dogs.
You gotta have a heart for it. You really do.
I mean, we call you when they're cats and trees. So
That,
it's
yeah,
not
and
stress.
you never seen a
I
cat
call-
skeleton in a
I
tree.
call Cody and Kurt. Their bucket's taller.
I just think we're already in a position where we are running off good employees because we are asking them to do things that are not inside of what they are good at doing, trained to do, and qualified to do. And now we're just going to go and do that same thing over in the police department. Doesn't make any sense.
I never
to
made
me.
any suggestion that the police officers run the animal.
you just want us. You're
I just wanted
suggesting
the chief to be over the
you want
person
us
who's
to be
running
over the
it.
person that's running it.
But when he doesn't have that person, when there's a void in that employee position, who is going to fill it?
The manager
These other 2
is
ladies
responsible
that are
for what they are given to manage. If my chief goes over the animal shelter, it takes away from his ability as a police officer, and he is not going to let those animals starve to death. It is an unholy alliance to do that to the police department. It's just never was considered. I don't know what the council was thinking when we started that animal shelter, but of course you've got to staff it. And I think that the most of the people that have been there, I was sorry to see the last one go because in spite of her other problem, she had a heart for the animals. And it is not easy to find someone with a heart for the animals.
So I just want to make sure I understand before I make my decision here or put it out there, that if the animal shelter comes under the police department, we're going to hire a manager who will be solely responsible for the animal shelter, but will report to me. And there will be additional staff that if that manager's not there to cover for that staff. And Mr. Stephen Bloom, that budget will be then transferred to the police department for animal shelter, and code enforcement, and animal control.
Yeah, it's going to still be its own department.
It'll just be something, a budget that I will have to oversee.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whew.
And I don't think it's something you can decide tonight.
Yeah. Can I
We
think
need
about
to
it?
talk about it.
Yes.
Let me ask you this. So, you're going to have the community development manager who has 2 kennel techs and 1 assistant and they're part-time. If the manager's out, which of these are we looking to have?
Community development manager is not even in the picture anymore. It's a totally different job. So now it's the shelter manager. Oh, you're on the second page. I'm still on the first page. I just drew my lines. Yeah, see, here's the lines right there. That's them right there. That's the job description I'm looking at.
I'm looking at her second one. So, if that person is out,
So we'll never do
there
that.
is nobody to cover.
That's why you go back over here. Because you have the two assistants. You have 2 kennel techs. You have a manager. If the manager's out, you've got the 2 kennel techs.
So they're part-time.
That's because they work alternating days.
And when one of them is sick,
The other one picks up.
Well,
The manager's usually there every day.
so this
right,
is
but
a
the
little
manager
bit.
has to have vacation and have sick time.
Well, that's why we asked for the third. If you look on there, the third part-time person, because yes, BJ, Nikki, and I have cleaned many a kennel. We've had somebody out on vacation, somebody sick, somebody on an animal call, and we go and clean. And I understand that Chief wouldn't want to do that. So that's why we asked for the third person in case. Out of 4 people, they should be able to cover. If they can't, then you just come to City Hall and cry, and somebody will go clean those dogs.
Who's the third person? Okay, maybe I'm not seeing it, but where's go to the staffing?
Well, if you go to the
in the staffing plan.
in the future staff, we asked for another part time.
It's over here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just in case that does happen, where everybody's out, but somebody's got to be there to cover at that point. Yeah.
See, there's an open.
So, Mr. McMillan, what would you like to see from the CRA?
Yeah, I'll say we take the CRA.
Well, the board, we discussed it last night. I can't say what they want, obviously, but I didn't know if it would help if we go to if we pull our money out and we go to a third-party CRA director. That also makes a planner more of a planner. You take away the dogs and the CRA and the cleaning and whatever else that they have to do, it would be more competitive to get a new planner in, if that's the route that y'all are going. But since we're sunsetting in 4 years, naturally, if the legislators don't kill us in between, every year we get threatened that they're going to cancel us, we would just hit an annual services contract with somebody, and they would know that at the end of 4 years we're done, instead of pulling our money in 4 years from y'all anyways. That's what we discussed yesterday. Now, if y'all hire a planner and they come on board and they're cleaning stalls and they're wanting to do CRA stuff, I guess we can always cancel our annual services contract at that point. But last night it seemed that my board wanted to do a third-party routine.
Yeah, good luck finding somebody. I mean, really, like she said, it's essentially the same type of person. And I'd say the city's plan would be to go to the CRA and beg them not to take their money.
Say that again. Just repeat it for me.
Okay, you want me to start at the top?
Let's start
The
at
top is, I don't think you'll be able to find a contracted developer. You might.
That's possible.
But what caliber of person would you get? You might end up with Laura. I mean, she may be willing to do it as a contract. But then again, I think the city's number one thing to be doing would be to go to the CRA and ask them not to pull their money, because we need it. And that would be my suggestion, is to go ask the CRA not to take their $54,000.
Second Monday, 5:30.
If I may, I think that the CRA's worried about if you don't fill this position, they still have a lot of projects going on currently. They do have Nikki, and Nikki is involved in all those projects. But they're worried that if you don't fill that planner position, that there will be nobody there to be their director. That's where their nerves are really coming in.
We have about 14 projects, I think, we're balancing and voting on and out to bid and looking at this, and sidewalks and marquee signs and light bulbs and all types of stuff going on that I don't want to lose a month or 2 months. But you're right, we could go, I don't even know how to go out to bid. I'll grab her in the next 2 weeks. But if we go out to bid for a CRA director, are they $200,000 a year? I don't know. I don't have a clue.
And what credentials do they have?
But it's also a catch-22 because our little CRA, we're busy. There's a lot of projects going. But a person that's doing 8 other things, if we're doing 50% of the salary, but we're getting, 10% of the time, kind of needs to balance out.
Well, that's why I said let's restructure her job and offer it to her. I think that's the thing we should do. Restructure the job that she originally came for, that she loved when she came, and offer it back to her. And she either takes it or she doesn't.
So let me ask this question. So why did we not do that in the first place and have her say she's leaving before anybody thinks about doing it?
A lot of us have been bugging her, trying to guilt her in this thing. You've been offered.
I mean, as far as taking things away from her, like what we're doing now, we're separating things and then saying, well, if we take this, take that, would you stay? Why did no one say anything about that in the beginning before she made a decision to leave?
I didn't know about it. I can tell you, I had no idea she was on purge.
I don't think anybody knew.
I mean, I think
I never went to.
Anybody.
I mean, we can't do
I
anything
told
about
some
it
of
until
my
we hear
staff
it.
friends, but I didn't tell the management that I was burnt out.
Yeah.
What am I going to do that? I mean,
And I can understand why you are. I mean, you got your
Same reason and way everybody else is doing it. But I get it.
I'll say let her restructure the job she wants. And then offer it to her and ask her if she wants.
I think that's been done.
That's what they're looking at. But have you offered it to her? What I'm hearing is hire somebody else to do this. I never heard her offer it back to her.
Laura and I discussed it. It's on my board. We went through all this together. And then she asked for the weekend to think about it. And she came back on Monday and said she was still looking to do it.
Okay, well, we don't know that.
So I typed this up, and this is basically based on what she and I talked about last.
May I ask why the animal shelter manager doesn't report to the city manager, just like all the other managers do?
Most of the managers report to a director of their department.
And they report to the city manager.
If they're a director, they do. But a supervisor of an animal shelter, that's a department head, but not necessarily a director.
You're changing the words. We're talking about a manager of the shelter. Now you've went to a supervisor of the shelter. There's a substantial difference in those two.
It says manager right here, and that's what I'm saying.
So,
Animal shelter manager.
so the manager will be a department head. So the department heads report to the city manager. So I put my offer out again. I will, for the benefit of the city and to save Laura, because I like Laura.
Y'all stop guilt tripping her.
I will take code
It works, it
enforcement.
works. Leave her alone.
I will take code enforcement and animal control. No, Ms. Chairman. Code enforcement and animal control, like Ms. Meredith say, the animal shelter should report to the city manager, and I will take animal control and code enforcement, which will then give your community development, the manager, only one thing to take care of is animal shelter and whatever other duties you want to put up top.
Then why would we not put animal control under the shelter manager?
You can do that too.
If we're going to do that, that's what I would do.
Well, then you're putting code enforcement under the
No.
shelter too.
I would.
You're going to separate
Code
them?
enforcement is more of a land development thing.
Yeah,
so,
well,
if I may, I know we're little, but most places, animal control and code enforcement are not the same person.
Right.
They are complete. In fact, Christy has no code enforcement experience, but she has 25 years animal control. So they can be two separate jobs, and most places they are. And you know, we wear a lot of hats, and I understand that. But if you want to make big decisions like that, that's one thing you need to consider. Is that she's not even trained yet for code enforcement. So Chief could go get himself a very highly qualified, trained code enforcement officer.
I'm good with that.
And I spoke with her today briefly, and she's okay with animal control and code enforcement. That's all I can tell you.
Whatever works.
Well, and there's no reason that we can't structure it with animal control and code enforcement being under for a year, 2 years, with the recognition that we may need to revisit this as the city grows or as our needs change going forward.
I like it so far.
Okay.
Keep going.
All right,
Keep
no,
going.
I'm just saying, like, we don't, you know, this can be something that, okay, for 2 years we give this a go, but given what happened even a year, we should probably revisit and make sure that it's working for everybody from a burden standpoint. Number of hours. I mean, that's the challenge. The same, like the animal shelter and the police department and the fire department are 24/7. They have to be. Code enforcement has to be available 24/7. So it does make some sense, but when we get to the point where we've either outgrown or we can just change it.
Right. But you're
Right.
talking about one person doing both.
Yes. Yes, we can make that work.
Not the shelter.
So we would
Not the
hire.
shelter.
No. Not the shelter.
Not the shelter. Just animal control and code enforcement.
But
We can make it work.
just what she was hired to do.
Yep.
And then maybe instead of
Which
calling
part?
it,
Christy was hired to do animal control, like code enforcement. No, she just hasn't been to school yet.
would it help if we renamed the community developer managers to call that animal shelter manager? Would that make more sense? And I'm on page 2. I don't know if it matters, but just in the sense of the math of having to have the net increase math in front of us.
Yeah, the community development manager and the kennel techs and the part-time assistant have absolutely nothing to do with animal control and code enforcement.
Right. If we take
I don't
animal
know. That's
control
why I
out.
wasn't looking at that page.
Yeah,
It makes
so
no sense.
if this is just, animal shelter and it's the animal shelter manager and they have 2 kennel techs and a part-time assistant, then that just is very tidy. And code enforcement and animal control comes down under here. Under code enforcement.
But you have one person that's going to do both.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What happens when that person goes on leave? Is
You
sick.
have the other 2.
Or who? What other two that are already there? The 2 assistants, the techs. They're with the shelter, right?
Yeah, so what Wayne used to do is he would call the county when he went on vacation, and they would cover animal control, emergencies only, and code enforcement just wouldn't have anybody when they were on vacation.
That's why the shelter and animal control is together.
Yeah. I mean,
So, Miss Debra, you can have it.
but that's what they used to do. They just call the county to fill in for them.
I'm just trying to help.
Was there a fee associated with it, or was it goodwill?
I don't think there was a fee associated, because you already pay taxes to the county for their animal control and animal shelter. So I
I'm
think
pretty sure we paid somebody, because I remember signing checks.
Did you pay for Nathan? Yeah,
I mean, we paid the county.
you paid the
Yeah,
county.
we
It wasn't
did.
a lot though,
We
right?
paid the county, because I remember signing a check.
So I think maybe every call was it that he came out, or
It was usually the weekend.
okay, like when we
He
went
was
away for
covering
the weekend.
weekends. That's what he was doing. He'd go
Yeah.
out, he'd cover weekends, and we'd pay him to cover weekends. We used to have a weekend person, remember?
And that will be a management decision.
Yeah.
Whoever takes it, that would be the management decision as to plan and prepare for if that person goes on vacation or gets sick. Who would be the backup? I don't think that's a council decision to make. I think that's whoever ends up with this under them will be the person that will have to figure out what do we do if our code enforcement or our animal control officer goes on vacation or goes sick. That manager has to have a plan in place to say, this is how we'll continue to cover it. So, I'll put it out. I mean, it's up to you all what you want to do.
I agree with that, but we also have to make sure that you have, or they have the staff to cover.
Mm-hmm.
You put it out there, and you have these people, yet you really don't have enough staff to cover.
Well, here's the thing, Ms. Hinds, is, we have, I really didn't want to go into all this, but I will. We have reserve officers and reserve people that we could probably utilize or train to be a backup if need be. So
we are willing to do it.
yes,
You're still not talking about the shelter.
no,
A couple of months.
He's still not talking shelter.
I'm not talking shelter. I'm just talking animal
I'm
control.
not talking shelter either.
All right,
I'm just
there you
making
go.
sure.
We're on
I'm
the same page.
We're-
separate.
Yeah, we're all on the
Shelter's
same
on its
page.
own, and
Yep.
then. But I'm just saying, I don't want you coming back in 3 months saying.
Well, we said we're gonna revisit it in a year,
Okay, be good.
so I'll hold on.
Well, President Hinds, you guys also asked us to train at least a couple other people on animal control. Because
That's
the animal
here in the city, right?
that work at the city.
Okay.
Because animal control officer cannot be on call 24 hours a day.
Exactly.
So that's something that you guys could still implement, and
Okay.
then that person could cover for Christy or whoever she has when she's on vacation.
Okay. I'm just trying to make sure we're covered. Because I mean,
It's a tough job. That's why I don't want to.
that's why you. But we appreciate you. All right. So what are we gonna do? I say shelter. Everybody else? Anybody else? Any other thoughts?
And I think we'll just wait for the CRA board to get back to us on what they're going to do to determine what we
think we need to separate that from
right who we are hiring.
Well, I think they're contingent upon whether we hire somebody or not. If we don't have anybody, they're walking.
How much time we got?
Well, unfortunately, our meeting was last night, so we don't have another one for a month. By then,
Can you do a special meeting or something?
I would assume we probably could put together something, but I don't. I would need time to research CRA.com. I don't know where to find this person. I can dump it on Laura. I got 2 weeks, so to find a director, and I guess we need some time maybe to figure out if we can even do that for the money that we have in our budget. So, your next budget meeting is the third one is my birthday, I think. Yeah.
If we don't get through this now, the 26th.
So did we make a decision? So I know what I need to plan for.
I've only heard me.
Oh, okay.
Nobody else.
I'm sorry to say it, so it needs to be restated.
Yeah.
Emotion. I know, just restate what you want to do.
So I think what we're coming to the conclusion of is that whatever we're calling Laura's new position, Community Development Director, would just have that top portion that we talked about. We would be hiring a replacement for our animal shelter manager. And then Christy Lewis, who is our current code enforcement / animal control, would go under the purview of the police department. Summarize that? I think I got it right.
Code enforcement and animal
Code
control.
enforcement and animal control would now be under Chief Rolls' purview.
But everything at the top is what a planner does anyway. Right?
Correct.
Which is what Laura did before Wayne moved over here from the police department, because it was originally at the police department. And he got moved over here, and so she took him on. And then they started a shelter.
That's correct.
So it just kind of grew from there, and like I
And
said.
he was moved over because Chief Strode did not want to do it.
Right.
And that's correct. And I actually thought Wayne was going to be the animal shelter manager, and then he retired on me.
Right.
So it all fell back on me again. It was just a bunch of things
I
happened
think
all
we
at
all
once.
thought that he was going to retire from what he was doing and be the animal shelter manager.
All right. So
That's
now
what we
let's
were
talk
hoping.
about money. Yeah.
We just gave Steve
Just
direction.
telling what we're doing.
You can't vote in a
We haven't
workshop.
voted yet.
So we gave Stephen direction to rearrange the budget. We got a lot, Laura, in our office. She can't.
So are we going to talk about the?
Yeah, I mean, that's another question
That's
is,
the next
you know, I put, again, whatever that title is for Laura's position at $70,000, which is roughly a $4,000 raise over what she's making currently. I wouldn't want to go lower than that. You're not going to be competitive.
And the others already have established salaries. Okay. There you go.
Are we going outside? I mean, are we going to actually interview for the position all the time?
Oh, you're going to lock Laura in her office. And give her a raise.
If we cannot talk Laura into staying, yes, we would advertise it internally like we do for 5 days, I believe it is, and then we would look externally. Yes. We have the other planners on staff, though.
May I ask?
So you will.
Are you offering her $70,000?
We did not.
You have not said you have, but
We,
kind of out there without saying.
That was just my suggestion.
we did not. So you're going to hire, well, you're going to advertise internally after she has left
the building? Nope, we can start right away. Assuming we can't keep. Oh, I'm just saying, assuming we cannot keep her. That is everybody's. Everybody's hope is still that, but in the event that we cannot, yes, we can start advertising it. If we can get the additional salary, then we would just advertise it, yes, with just those duties, and then at the $70,000 if you agree to it.
I think we should. Cities at a crossroads. We've got a lot of growth coming. We need competitive hiring and city planners. So I think that we should increase the salaries to $70,000 our advertising, for them meeting the qualifications. Or up to $70,000.
Mr. Blue, is that doable?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So just so I have it correct in my head, we're gonna up the salary to $70,000, advertise in-house with the hope that rural will stay.
We really don't need to advertise unless she tells us she's not staying.
She's not there. I know she's not there. Yes, Mr. Penny.
A city planner usually makes between $79,000 and $85,000. Usually, I'm just letting you know.
Thank you. We're not offering that, but we appreciate it. Anybody else in the audience? All right. We good? I have a question.
I have a question on page 16. Has anybody got anything prior to page 16?
I got like.
Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay. I just have a question about the travel and per diem for the city councilors and training and seminars. We've got like $30,000 budgeted for travel and per diem and training and seminars. And I mean, sounds great. I'm just not sure how responsible it is. I just would like a clarification of where this is from. Okay, under city council.
Page 16.
We have $20,000 budgeted for travel and per diem, and $10,000 budgeted for training and seminars. We have $30,000 budgeted for us, so that's $6,000 a year per council member. It seems like a lot. Maybe there's a really good logical reason. I just don't know it.
I can answer that question. Our council has become more involved in going to training and seminars, and I also pay the mayor when he goes to his conferences out of the budget. So I had to include him as well. So that's why I upped it. Well, I asked to up it to that amount because before I had not factored the mayor into his seminars and everything coming out of the council's budget.
And I'll just add that there are 3 or 4 of us, maybe even 4 or 5 of us, who have been lucky enough to be appointed by the Florida League of Cities president to serve on legislative committees for the Florida League of Cities, and that requires travel. We are really good about not staying. We leave at 7 o'clock in the morning so we can get there by 9 o'clock and go to the meeting and turn around and come right back home. So we don't pay for a hotel, and they feed us breakfast and sometimes lunch. Usually not. We usually try to grab something on the way home. but it does, and we go to the Florida League of Cities conferences, which we are doing on Thursday of this week. And it's mainly to keep our name out there, to learn the things we need to learn, how to run the city. They do a lot of training and classes. I know the mayor has gotten certified in a lot of those things, so is D and Mike. And just like we're members of the Swanee River League of Cities, we pay dues to them, everything else to them. If you pay dues, it's essentially free. When we go to Tallahassee to lobby on behalf of the city and our projects, usually the Florida League pays for us to go there. Some of the conferences that we go to in Tallahassee, they pay for the room, they pay for the board, they pay for the meals. Sometimes we have to pay. It depends on what the particular one is. But they've offered us a free one every year for the last, I think, 2 to 3 years, through Jenny Anderson, who's part of the Swanee River League of Cities. So I think we get, I know it's a lot of money, and I can tell you, I looked at it too. But it's also, I think we get a lot back out of it. Education is what we get.
No, and I having been,
And I have been appointed to the board of directors of the Florida League of Mayors.
Yeah. No, and I don't disagree with the education and all that. It's a big number to justify.
It is a big number
to residents, and I just want to know. I just want to be able to justify it.
Thank you for bringing it up. I had it circled as well.
No, you're good. I just want to add those committees that Ms. Debra is talking about that we go to, that we're appointed by the Florida League of Cities. Ms. Meredith has signed up to be on one of those committees.
No, I did.
All right.
And so did I. I got the email today that I'm on the legislative committee.
I'm sorry, and our city manager, Sue
You got
Beaudet.
notice already?
I got notice today, yes.
I haven't looked. I need to go look. Wow. Well, I can tell you, it is an honor to be appointed. It is an honor to be appointed and be a part of it for the whole state of Florida. It's just like the home rule hero thing. How we get that, most people everybody in town's been saying, how did you get that? And well, it's because you go to Tallahassee, because you go to those legislative meetings, you learn, and the legislative committees, they discuss the issues that we actually discuss, what we think the topics are important that the Florida League ought to lobby for, or advocate for is the word they like to use. And until you go and discuss it with cities big and small, you don't really understand it. But like sovereign immunity and mobility fees and all this kind of stuff that I've learned about, I would not know any of that stuff if I had not been to those meetings. And that's where I learned most of what I learned. What page are we going to next?
19. Just a refresher.
What page?
19.
19, yes, sir.
Just a refresher.
Uh-huh.
Debt service repayment to utility fund. What was that for?
That covers the general fund, City Hall.
Okay.
There's also a small piece, just another refresher.
2 vehicles?
One.
Oh, only one.
One vehicle. Again, several years ago, there was a grant that covered 50% of about a $400,000 bill. And then the other half of that is being repaid to the fire department.
Can I jump on to page 20? Sorry, same question.
Sure.
Just because I need to be able to. So HR, we have between per diem, travel and per diem dues and subscriptions, training and seminars, $12,500 allotted, and then there's an additional $2,500 employee incentives. I'm assuming that's not to incentivize our HR person, but to incentivize other employees. But I would just like just a breakdown of that.
So for the where the employee incentives is to incentivize our employees. We started making certificates of appreciation, stuff like that. We started kicking off an employees incentive program. And that is going for the employees, not for me. What was the other one you asked about?
It's just the same. It's the cumulative amount of the travel and per diem. It's, we got a 300% increase. I mean, which obviously there was nothing in 2025. So, but I mean, it's just we've got $10,000 or the $7,000 dues and subscriptions, $3,000 travel and per diem, $2,500 training schools and seminars. It's not. It's just a lot of money cumulatively. I just would like.
So, for the dues and subscriptions, EAP comes out of that. Also I added on 1,000 because if you do, we want to do training, like leadership training where you purchase the webinars. And I did the math, and if we purchase a subscription to one of them, it drops down that price. And the training schools and seminars would help cover that. The subscription for the drop in price is the $1,000, and then the training schools and seminars would be helping to pay for those classes for the entire, like directors, supervisors, stuff that we lack.
So this is not like this is for all employees, not just for HR training.
No, ma'am.
Brilliant. Okay, that's all I needed to know.
Drug screening seems a little high, 4,000, when it's been 1,200, 1,265, 1,500, and 26. I guess that just seems.
So the price for one drug screen that comes in has jumped up to like $90 a person.
Okay.
And we have currently spent, from what it looks like, projected $2,681, and I just got a bill for, I think there was 6 or 7 of them added on, plus one of the departments have to do annual drug screenings, and it comes out of my budget.
Okay.
That actually was removed out of the gas budget. So if you go to your gas budget, your what she's talking about, your drug screening came out of that budget, went to hers because she has to be the one to oversee it. And so that's, even though it's a gain there, you'll notice that it's a drop in the other one.
Perfect. Thank you.
I got 31. If anybody's got anything beforehand.
31. Get there.
So Chief Stegall. The loan payment for the fire doors, when will those be paid off?
I thought they were. We fire department only took, if I remember correctly, about 35 to 38,000 of that loan. And if you look at the last 2 years, the last 2 budgets this county this year, we've already paid that amount back. So I'm not sure, did we not turn the rest of that unused loan back in?
No, we did not. I mean, that part I can answer. I'll check on the payment. It was a you're talking about the $100,000?
Yeah.
No, that was 100% of that was pulled. We go back to the history and see the spending on that.
Yeah, the description may be wrong. May not need to say fire doors. It may be something else.
Yeah, I'll make a note to check on that. Yes.
Yeah, Mike, it was supposed, we had talked about doing some of the stuff upstairs with the other part of it. We never did anything over there at PD.
Where it went either.
Yes, I looked at upstairs, and for the amount that we had to do things, would have been just throwing the money away. Could not possibly get that upstairs to the position that it needed to be with that amount of money. And I went to the chief and I said, don't do it. Don't throw bad money away.
Yeah, so if there's anything left over, I'll account for it and get it back to.
Okay. Brush truck 72 replacement. Are we putting money away for that? Is that why the under the budget for this coming year is $240,000?
No, that would require a loan.
Okay.
So that's the vehicle loan there you see, and the debt service was increased to account for that.
Okay.
Yep. Then so basically, real quickly, in the general fund, you've got two loan potentials there. You've got this, as well as I know the chief is working hard on his consoles, but depending upon how that shakes down, there's $300,000 under police communication, which is I think a couple pages down.
I have 32. Generator maintenance. Which generators are these?
It's part of your contract with FDOT. It's for the red lights. The traffic lights.
Okay.
So it's just your yearly maintenance for when they need batteries or oil changes or things of that nature.
Do you spread that over multiple? This is in parks.
Yeah, Parks handles that budget exclusively.
Does all of it?
Yes, ma'am. I believe that's one of the line items in your MOT contract. You'll see that they put that in there, and then Stephen has separated it out based historically on what's the average. Some years are higher, some years are lower. I mean, obviously, if there's something over 1,500, it has to be fixed, but we adjust for that.
And that's the park improvements. I see those there on that same page.
I had the same question on page 33 that I had earlier. Sorry, broken record, about the training schools and seminars, only because, I mean, it's parks and roads, so I would just like a little clarification on what training is there, and that we only spent $92 in 2025, but we've doubled our budget for 2026, so just explain that.
So the explanation for that is that you have an electric, you have water, you have sewer, you have gas. All those departments, you have clear objectives on how someone increases their knowledge skills. The new incoming supervisor can talk to you about, he's working on programs and pricing out programs for mosquito control, pest control, things that are related to those fields in particular, and how the staff can go out and get licenses through the state, and that's not anything we pursued. And we've been having historically a recruitment problem in that department because people view it as a dead-end department. They either transfer out of it or leave. And so it's part of employee retention to get them licensed and certified for things that they can take pride in, and they can move forward and do more with their skills.
The mosquito stuff, doesn't the county spray for the city?
They do in some parts, but there are places like our parks and certain areas like our DRAs that are highly neglected, a lot of times because the DRAs are hard to get to. So when you have residents in Camille Plantation around the southwest side or the southeast side, or the big pit behind the Mayor Street, they can't get back into those areas. So it would be areas like that that we would be able to do some control.
Page 35. And you know me, I love my fireworks. But this is crazy.
That's our 250th.
I know it's our 250th anniversary, but that is a big increase.
Then we could go back to normal next year.
I still think like 25 would be better than 50.
35 sounded better.
150 is a lot. And nobody likes fireworks. And 4th of July, you asked me what my favorite holiday is, that's what I was going to tell you. But that's a lot of money. And as Meredith said, I just can't justify $50,000 for fireworks. Just can't do it. I will not vote for that.
You said what, 35 you said?
Not 50 is what I said.
Well, I just figured since it's
I mean, it was 19.5 last year, and we have spent 18. So I really think 25, 30 max. going to be plenty.
Got to do it up big this year.
I know we do, but I can't justify another $30,000. That's a whole position.
I know there's a lot more than our money.
Can't do
As
it.
a citizen.
So what do the rest of y'all think?
You don't want to ask me.
I have to ask you.
I'm
only
here's
one
why.
voice, and I hear Mr. Cox, so I got.
I don't like fireworks at all because of the animals, so I'm the wrong person to ask. So yeah, I would say.
And I don't go to them.
Well,
Yeah,
it's everything. It's and for our residents as much as anything, and it's in celebration of of our independence.
Yeah. No, I just
But I can't
I'm
do
with you.
$50,000.
I don't.
30.
I'm uncomfortable with it.
Let's do 30 because I think that's the most I can do. I mean, that's another 20,000 we can put in reserves, or add to our planner that's decided to stay because she's dancing back there.
Just to that point, by the way, I want to make sure you guys are clear on that decision. I'm increasing it to 70, but that doesn't change the CRA piece because you're not going to have that joint position. So the entire money, and I've done it already, and it works here, I've got it set, but that entire money that was allocated to CRA is going back into the general fund.
But the only reason they're even talking about taking it is because she's leaving. So the point is to try to keep her to stay, and they won't take their $54,000. And like I said, if all else fails, you go to the CRA if you beg them not to take their money. And I'm not above doing that. And on 36, those are those hurricanes. Those 3 hurricanes that we've not. That's the FEMA money you see sitting right there.
Can I go back to 35 real quick and just
Yes, ma'am.
throw out an option? And I don't know, stop me if this doesn't work. With the fireworks, can we budget what we normally budget, and then we see we've been fiscally responsible over the course of the year because we have until when that we have to book the. Oh darn! Never mind. I was hoping we had more time. Scratch that.
Yeah, they want 50% down in order to order them.
Never mind.
If not, they get stuck on a slow boat from China.
Yeah.
They won't talk tariffs, right? It may just be a 50% increase because of tariffs. Who knows? Now, like I said, on 36, there's those 3 hurricanes. If you add all those 3 numbers together, that's money we're missing from our budget this year that got carried over. I mean, that's a lot of money.
And to be clear, we're still waiting. Laura and I have been working on this the entire time I've been here. Every time that FDEM asks for something, we give them what they're asking for. But again, this is at the state right now, and they're trying to decide whether or not we even have the ability to put in our late damage inventory. And then, if we're given that ability, then we still have to wait for the money. So we're basically at ground zero. We keep trying, but there's no guarantee of this money.
I mean, that's almost $80,000 we could put in the reserves too. Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah, we've talked to everybody under the sun.
I want to add something real quick. NOAA just updated the hurricane is still heading straight for us. It has not turned north yet.
Don't even say that.
I'm just saying that's what it just put out. Just letting y'all know. Keep that in your mind.
It's way out there. Way. I'm not even going to look at it till Monday. I'll see what it says. I'll be home by Monday, and I will look at it then.
And by the way, the 2-year total on those lines is $176,000. So I have the 2024 number there too.
Oh, that's true. I forgot to add the 2024 number.
So we could have a lot of fireworks if that comes.
Well, no, that's adds to the reserve. I'm not going fireworks. I'm going for reserve. We don't build up those reserves. It's the last thing we do.
You mean you don't want to do another laser show?
Maybe. can do both. And we don't want them crashing on people and killing people.
That's the drones.
They did.
That's the drones.
No, it was the drones that crashed. You're right. Thank you for correcting me.
In
You're right. Thank
Orlando.
you.
I got 48.
I started to say I'm all
Anybody's
the way through the
beforehand.
CRA and I'm through the airport. Hold on. 48. Oh, I got all kinds of questions over here.
Yep.
48 is before mine. Okay. What you got?
Fire hydrants. 10,000.
Are they on here? Oh, I see them.
And I think they're somewhere else also on in the budget. That's 10,000. Are we replacing valves or replacing fire hydrants themselves?
We would probably need about 20 times that amount to meet the needs of our hydrant repairs. So we just put in something that we thought was your sole emergency issues, like last year when the gentleman hit the one in front of PD and ripped it completely out of the ground and the water main blew up. So that 10,000 is only in there for dire emergencies. It's not actually for infrastructure repair or capitalization.
And how much is an average hydrant?
It's the hydrant setup, all of that can run anywhere between 3,000 and 4,000. So those are basically 3 hydrants. We historically usually have 3 every year that have major issues that have to be replaced. The other big problem we walk into is that most of the ones we go to don't have any valves. We have like 68 hydrants that don't have any emergency shut-off valve. They're live, so when they're broken, if the hydrant itself doesn't seal. So what I'm saying is when we go to replace, we have to install a valve. So usually when you add the valves and all that in there, they're between 3,000 and 4,000.
And I would just comment, since we're on page 47 and 48, if Mr. Eckert were still here, we could answer the questions he asked at the beginning of the meeting. Because here's the answer on these 2 pages. It's how much we pay for the services we give. In other words, how much we pay for the electricity, how much we pay for the gas, how much we pay for solid waste, how much we pay for everything. And then at the bottom of the next page is total of the expenditures and what the bottom line is. So you can see we lose money on a lot of those, but there are a couple that we make money on. So there's the bottom line. If he were here, I would tell him to look there. And that's why we didn't answer him. I'm sure he thought we just didn't answer him. But we were going to discuss the answers to his questions in this meeting. And there they are, right there.
Yeah, that's a great page for you to see kind of the ledger on each utility. Now, to the staff's credit, I do want to point this out, the significant improvement in water and sewer over the years. And then, you know, obviously gas is the one we talked about earlier. That's the one that's being, target is not the right word, but that's where a lot of the energy is being put in now to try and get that one cleared away, just to get it better. But yeah, really a lot of good effort put into those other 2 services. And then stormwater is one that's going to need to be developed, as you already know. You know, so that one is starting, and there's hopefully some solid grant programs that they're working on for that one. But that one, this is really a good breakdown. The only thing I would say, if anyone does ask you that question, is that admin and customer service is separate, but really everybody's paying a piece of that. So it's not completely individual, but you certainly want each of those columns, with the exception of the first 2, to be 0 or better.
Right. And obviously some of them don't make revenue.
Solid waste is always planned to be 0.
That's right.
You know, that's just the way it is.
And we talked about the fact that it's got a CPI and it's going up, but it's going up 55 cents per residence. more than that for commercial, but 55 cents per resident. And hopefully it'll be less than that. I know y'all were going to talk to them about the 3.75 and whether they could actually agree that it was really 2.75 or 2.5.
Kevin Smith, the general manager for GFL, is actually coming to the meeting next week to discuss it.
Okay. We'll look it up by then. We can argue with him. Does the contract, did we look at the contract and see if it said the IRS? How does it list the CPI?
Bureau of Labor Statistics.
Thank you very much.
But what they're contending is that they're looking at it they're looking at it in the solid waste CPI produced by the Bureau of Labor Statistics.
Rather than the whole overall.
And that's where they're getting their number.
Is there such a thing?
I've asked around. If you'll ask our engineers and you'll ask some of our consultants that work in that field, if you ask your actuary, the pension boards, I'm understanding that a lot of people in the Bureau of Labor Statistics do look at the industry. So, for example, we talked with FGU. We had a big meeting about gas and trying to get some options on that. We looked that up. The fuel is 7.5% CPI.
Wow.
So, yes, each industry, like groceries and things like that. The interesting part is the overall that they publish, which is the 2.75 this year, does not include energy and groceries. For some reason, they eliminate those out of CPIs.
Gotta eat.
Right, but I'm just letting y'all know. So they do tend to go industry based. It doesn't, but if they'll cut it down to 3.5, it's actually a good deal because it's 4.23 on solid waste alone. And I think that they're talking about giving us lower than the 3.75, which Sue negotiated.
Perfect. Thank you.
Still on 48.
Still on 48. Okay.
Lift station pump replacement. Thought we just replaced a bunch of those.
If we go back and watch those meetings, the engineer, the pump consultant, your sewer operator, and your lift station operators, which Jason's here, talked about, that was simply to put us where we should be in operating at the time. That had nothing to do with getting us ahead of the game or putting any inventory or stock available, so we weren't right back in the same place that we were. So we could take that out, and then we may just be down the road looking at another $100,000+ purchase to get caught up again. So that's the answer to that question.
Gotta have them.
Well, that's true, but we were doing all right prior. I'm not saying totally the limb knock them out, but not down 30,000. I mean, we just spent
Well,
money.
that Beaudet lift station it cost us an arm and a leg, and it was about to quit. I mean, we were having to pump from it. If we'd have had a replacement to put in it, we might have been better off. But I think we ended up buying 2 or 3 for that particular for that particular one alone.
But we spent the money to buy all these other ones. Now we're turning to spend the money to buy more.
We got a bunch of lift stations. They're all old as the hills. So I understand. I'm glad to have it there, so that we can put something away, even if we don't spend it.
Generators. I'm sorry.
No, I just was in agreement with that. I think it would be better to have it in the budget if there are no fails and the sewage gods are with us. Then we can hopefully not have to spend it. But it doesn't make sense to be paying trucks to come in and pump it and drive it to the
sewer pumping.
Generators. We have generators. They were purchased before the previous city manager left for the purpose of putting at the lift stations. I realize we want to get natural gas or gas generators and this and that. We do have generators that will do that. I think 10,000, if you put switch stations or automatic switch things on it. It's going to cost a lot more than $10,000, I would assume.
I don't know. Do we have enough generators for all of the lift stations?
15 were purchased.
I don't know how many lift stations there are. Just know there's a lot of.
There's 21 lift stations, and they'll be, by the end of this year, there'll be 22nd. And then the new FBO has, it's not a lift station, but it's a grinder pump, a very large commercial. They consider it a lift station, so technically that would make it 23 by the end of the year. We do not have generators for all of them. The issue is not diesel versus natural gas. The issue is that most pump failures occur during emergencies, and because we do not have SCADA, by the time that we get to the station to put a generator on it, we've already had a spill. So if you had SCADA and you had an alarm go off when things reached a certain level, then yes, you could theoretically not worry about the generator automatically turning on. Obviously 10,000, Mr. Cox, you're correct, does not afford 23 stations to have transfer switches.
Actually, I'm sorry.
Trying to do it.
40,000.
Well, you're talking about different departments. Now you're talking about wells and some, which are water. You're talking about lift stations, and then you're talking about the sewer plant. Those are three separate things. So that's why you see generator money in each one of those. We have a generator for the digester in part of the plant that's already currently down, that hasn't been fixed in years. Half the plant is on a generator, the other half isn't. We have a generator that was purchased through surplus for $300. It is the generator that ran Kennedy Space Center when they launched the SpaceX and all of those that we got on a government service auction. It's a 500 kW. Some of that money is going to go to add a transfer switch this year and get work done on it so that it can run the entire well at the top, or the barn, and that whole complex. So we're not trying to fix all of this issue. We're trying to do a little bit each year so we can get caught up on it. The other problem is with not having transfer switches and not having natural gas, even if your SCADA did have existence at a lift station, and even if you did know you were about to have a spill, you can't send people out when the wind is above a certain level. So if you don't automatically have the station turn on and you don't automatically have a switch, you're going to have a spill. And the whole point of the generator is to prevent a spill. So again, this isn't my recommendation. If you guys want to bring in Wright Pierce, ask them what the standard is at GRU, ask them what the standard is at Newberry, ask them what the standard is at Chiefland, ask them what the standard is in Marion County. That's the standard. You don't want generators that don't have the ability to function on their own. Otherwise, you're not negating the issue.
True, but also we do have generators at the traffic lights at the intersections. Chief Rolls, your deputies take care of those.
When you say take care of, what do you mean?
Well, going and turning them on and firing them up when we lose power for the intersections, traffic lights.
The Donald people usually take care of turning on the generator. Some of them come on by themselves, don't they, Donald?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And again, if it's during a storm and people are told to shelter in place, the lights are just out. I mean, so
Just
during
like
an emergency,
you still have a light, right?
Correct. I mean, if you still have a light.
Yeah.
We have generators that were purchased for that. So, because I had a conversation with Terry, I actually invited Sue to call Terry and to talk to him about the generators that were purchased and such. Next would be fencing and security.
We have wells and we have lift stations that either have fences that are in heavy need of repair, or we have lift stations that are completely not fenced in. They're completely open. And over the long run, when we have FMIT go through, Latricia's been part of that. One of the things that we've consistently been flagged on in the last couple of years that FMIT insurance has asked us to deal with was to get the lift stations completely locked out from the public. We can't do all of them again, Sue asked that I budget for to do 1 or 2 or 3, however many we could squeeze out of a small amount, and we would plan on putting that out for bid, or if we can find a cheaper way to do it and the staff's able to do it, we would put up the fences ourselves. But that's just an attempt to meet compliance with the standard for our insurance carrier.
So how much do you think that it would cost to fence in, let's just say, Beaudet, to put up a new fence?
Beaudet's already fenced in, but if we bring up Dixie Lily on 5th place, your standard is that you usually want a 10-foot fence. Now, legally, we could get away with a 6-foot fence if we put some razor wire on the top of it. But if you're talking a chain link, you're talking probably anywhere between $500 and $7,500 to put up around that lift station. Because again, it can't just be such a small area. You have to bring the crane in. You have to have a double gate so that personnel can come in. So you're probably looking at anywhere. We just had fencing replaced at the Barnwell. There was a small section of it that was done, and it was $3,800.
Okay.
We also have some drainage areas that need to be fenced better than they are.
Yes, ma'am. We have a lot of drainage areas. That wasn't even addressing that, but yes, ma'am.
$10,000 for tool replacement. Page 48 still.
Water.
Okay, so you have replacements of like your tap die sets to do water taps. That's anywhere between $2,000 and $4,000. That goes bad every couple of years. You've got your I mean, there's a whole host of tools that we use that are specialized. I mean, there's wrenches and there's screwdrivers, and when you're working on a water leak underground and you're working on a live leak, you lose a tool and it gets buried and you can never find it again. Then you have your pump that hooks up DC power to the battery of the trucks, and that's so that they can try and pump the water out enough to even see what they're dealing with. Those pumps are usually around anywhere between $1,200 and $1,800 just for one of them. They don't have a long lifespan. They got beaten up pretty bad. They're in a hole with an exploded main. So, I mean, it's a small amount. There was a lot more in there before we tried to cut that.
Okay. Do you know, have they ordered the new pipes for the blue water pump?
Have
I
they
noticed
ordered
when
the
I was out
pipes
at the last water break.
They didn't work.
Right. There was 2 of them that had X's on them.
We did an inventory, and there actually ended up being more. We're trying not to pay for those. We're trying to get the manufacturer to replace them. The same thing happened when we ordered the bypass pumps, the 2 bypass pumps, one for the sewer plant and one for Fugit. And same thing happened. The hoses came in. They've gone in and they've done an inventory, and I think there's 3. Are there 3? There's 2 or 3 of those that are defective as well. We're trying not to pay for those. We would like the manufacturer to replace them.
This would be for the city manager. And I've talked about it in the past. Still have customers asking. We spent a lot of money this past year. Why did we purchase 5 vehicles?
So the way it was explained to me from Terry was that Danny would bring vehicles that came off of the GSA contract to me, and we would decide whether or not we wanted to bid on the vehicle. So of course it was never 100% we were going to get it. So they would bring vehicles to me. We would talk, Danny and I or whoever was in my office at the time would talk about the vehicles, and then I would sign off saying that yes, it was okay to bid on it. So there was probably more than the 5 vehicles that we actually bid on. We only received obviously the ones that you saw on that list.
There was actually 6, because one of them, Mr. Brevard, when he was here, brought in. That's the truck I think Tom's doing. But that was 60. I didn't pull the paper. About $68,000. That's a lot of money, and I know that he has spoken. It was on his board in the office when he left. That not a car lot, no more no more vehicles. I mean, we have citizens asking. They'll come in to where I work.
Yep.
Why is it that it seems like everybody's in a vehicle? You know,
Understand. And we did need some vehicles, like we talked about, I think, at the last meeting about, the fiber tech's a new vehicle, and, but I have said to everybody, there is no more vehicles. I'm not buying any more vehicles.
I mean, because
no more.
I know that in the I know you have a $25,000 thing.
Correct.
We can't be spending that kind of money this year.
Understand.
If we do, then I'm going to recommend that we cut the amount that you're able to do, and it has to come to the council. That was one of the things that Mr. Brevard did when he would always come to the council and say, hey, this is what I'm going to go buy. We always knew. We didn't know that there was 5 trucks that had been purchased.
Sure.
So imagine when we do find out, it's just not don't like to be blindsided.
Understand. And I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, Stephen, did we even put any money in for vehicles in this budget this year?
I was just looking at that.
Use your mic, please.
Turn it off. No.
Okay, because I know, still on 48, capital outlay project vehicles, $212 and $547.
That's the squirt truck.
That's the squirt truck.
Okay. And the money's there.
Yeah, I'm going to recommend to consolidate all that, like I said, into a loan. Because that's, again, it's the same thing. You're going to have that vehicle for a long time. You might as well, like we do with fire. It just makes sense. You could if you wanted to, but why?
We ordered it so long ago. We've been sitting here waiting on it forever.
Yeah.
And then the sinking funds, I noticed in the utility there's 4 or 5 maybe.
So you're looking at 2025. The game plan is still to fill those, but the sinking fund for 2026 is all combined. That 315, I mean, basically, it's to get to the 315, and then from there it can still be allocated across. So the goal is just to keep building. So it does not mean that the sinking fund program is no longer. It just means that for the sake of this budget, we're really focusing on get to that 315, hold the line at the 315, and then we'll get with staff and say, okay, we got to the 315, let's allocate it.
Okay. One other thing, my coworkers, I'll sit over on my side. Looking at last year's budget, in the contingency, there was $459,000 for electric, and I noticed, maybe I just didn't understand it, but I noticed for the contingency in this year's budget was nothing. Was that just a miss?
Well, and that was the thing. The goal with that contingency in 2025 was to hopefully use it to fund reserve. And, you mentioned pumps and some other things. So I'm not calling it a contingency anymore because it seems to get used, because that's just the nature of utilities. It's not like, hey, they're intentionally doing that. The idea with this budget is you've got X amount of money. If you have to use the contingency, we're going to have to cut something. And I know that they're, creative enough to do that. Maybe push it a little bit here, back. It's not comfortable to do it this way. And again, as we get to the back end of this process, there might be a little bit more we can start to put into contingency.
I have a question about that $459,000. Is there a way, I know not right now, but is there a way you can bring us a list of what those things were spent on?
Yeah, pumps.
All the whole 450,000?
No, not the whole 400, but a good chunk of it was on the pumps. But I can bring the rest because there is.
I would love to see that because it just sort of. Oof. And I know we did spend a lot of, and they did bring a special request for pumps, and we did agree to them, and we needed them. There was no doubt about it. We had to have them.
Yeah.
It was going to function. We had to have
I think we also spent a lot of money on the poles, if I'm not
We got some
mistaken.
money on poles, yes.
For the fiber project, we had to replace a lot of the poles.
But I don't know that it was supposed to come out of there.
Well, it couldn't come out of the loan.
Yeah, no, it could not come out of the
It was not put into the loan.
So why was it not there? It's a fiber project. That's kind of part of my question. That's why I want to see it.
So in your proposal back from Performance Services, it was not within your budget because it was an electrical upgrade. The poles needed to be switched out. It had nothing to do with the fiber going in. It's just that the fiber precipitated. It's time to update the stuff. So you have two different enterprise funds, and the enterprise fund that you're talking about was electric. They had a lot of needs there, and that's why the money was used out of the contingency. That predates Sue. That's into Terry. That's into the presentation. You can go back and look at all the stuff that PSI, Performance Services, showed you guys. There was no place in there in that loan that was calculating poles, because then there would have had to have been a profit share, and Stephen can answer this more. When you make fiber money back and then the electric makes it back, you would have had to divvy up where that money went back to. So the loan and the fiber was completely separate on the development of that and your ROI, your return on investment, on knowing how many users that you get and how quickly that subscriber list pays back the loan. If you put in pole upgrades and you put in all that other stuff that's required as part of the electric system, then you're converging the two, and they're not the same. That doesn't give you your ROI, and then we probably would not have been able to get a loan for the amount of money included in that. You could also bring in Mr. Justin Head and talk to him about what Kiersten and their attorneys decided and what they talked about, which was legal and all those things.
I think it was, but I think everybody talked about it but us.
I understand.
That's where I'm coming from.
I don't have an issue with a question, obviously.
It was a
I'm just giving
decision
you an
that was
explanation.
made by multiple people, but we were not informed.
I do remember discussing this when we were discussing whether we would go with CFEC, and it was brought to our attention that we would have to
We needed
all of those
And
poles.
the CF,
it wasn't included in the loan.
and the CF deal, had that been partaken in, would have come out of the electric budget, because there wouldn't have been a fiber loan. So it would have come out the same place as it did if we had gone in as partners with CF or Open Infra, whoever you all had decided to go with.
Again, there were certain parameters for what can be spent by certain people without council approval.
Sure.
And I'm not real sure. Now, I guess we piecemealed it, or it was piecemealed, so that it didn't go over that amount.
Are you talking about the polls and all that?
Yeah.
Well,
Because
I mean, some of your stuff is ongoing contracts. So, like when you talk about Gresco and other things, if your purchasing agent was here, he would tell you that there are certain amounts for reorders and things. You already have agreements in place to
I'm
do
talking
certain.
about polls, not Gresco.
I understand that. I'm just giving an example. It's like water boxes. We order $9,000 of water boxes about every 3 months. It's not that we're forgoing the limit. It's that by the time we know that we have to wait the 5 months for the boxes to come in, we order at a limit that doesn't also procrastinate that process because the money already is a budgeted line item.
And you did. And the polls were not divvied up over quarters.
Well, actually,
Like
it's been a while. It's been a couple of quarters.
I still want to see it.
Sure, I understand. I'm not. Obviously, I'm just trying to answer your question, Ms. Jones, as to if you go back and you review the videos of the fiber presentations, there was never any talk about in the fiber loan addressing the changes to the electrical system in order to make fiber possible.
Yeah, do it without a poll.
49. And maybe I misunderstood
What
this.
now?
49.
49. Okay.
AMI.
Oh, see that now.
Yeah, and it was on last year's. Are we just starting to put money away for that for down the road?
You're talking about for this year?
Yes, sir.
There's nothing in there for next year. And I think at the time they were thinking of starting it, but no, that won't be used this year.
But we should. Great idea. We need to transition. Every other city around us is that AMI, and we need to get there because that's the fastest way that we can give our citizens security about their electric and their water bills. So if we keep cutting rates and all that kind of stuff, we're never going to get there. So I'll put my plug in for AMI in the future.
Haven't got any raise.
Not yet, but it's out there.
I'll be glad to. I have brought it up before.
I know.
It's because I talk to people every day and they're hurt.
But if they could predict what their bills were going to be,
Not
it would be
as
a
high
lot
as they
better.
are. I'll sit up at your house.
Please do.
I'm getting there. I'm turning. I'm fast. I'm proud of me.
And I am speaking to people, just to clarify. I've spoken to a lot of people, and every time I talk to them about AMI, they're beyond excited and would be happy to have that be part of our cost.
Millions of dollars. I would be happy with it too.
Yeah.
Just it only takes money.
Yep.
Well, in full disclosure, I will let the council know that I had a 2-hour and 15-minute conversation today with Miss Church. She was the one who went to TV20 and started the online petition. And I did speak with her at length about AMI, which she is, as you said, very excited about, and plans to get kind of a groundswell out there in the community to come before the council and to really request that. So
I think they would much rather have their street lights. That too.
In CLE.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. We gotta do something about that.
But those are not mutually exclusive, because if we work with PSI like we did with the fiber, and I'm not saying that needs to happen tomorrow, but they're not mutually exclusive.
We'll have to talk to Hector and see if we can just isolate that area.
It's black dark over there. Pitch black dark. Questions on 59. I have to figure out what they are. I don't know if I know. It's something about I have a note that says different people. If I look at last time's budget, I'll have to do that. Page 59 from last time. And I look at page 59 from this time. It's a whole lot different. Like it went up like $50,000.
This is where the GIS. Remember you asked earlier about the GIS that was in gas. This
is where you've moved to.
It's now in water. Yes.
Okay, that explains that. 55,000 to be exact. Yeah, there you go. And the water technician crew leader, is that the correct name? Is that the correct title? No, ma'am. So what should it be? It's by what supervisor? I know it's Alex, but
that's your field supervisor.
Okay, so we need to get that one right too.
It's right on the staffing plan. It just isn't here.
Okay, yeah.
I will take care of it.
Thank you. I knew it was him because it's in the admin budget, so I knew it had to be Alex.
What page you on?
59. Okay. And that's where like you said, the locator GIS specialist got moved to. Out of the water and out of the gas and into the water. And that answers my question there. I just saw the difference in the amount of money and I was trying to figure out what it was.
On 60,
What page are we on?
59. I think he's paid $70,000.
Okay, let me make sure I understand the question.
Well, that's his retirement and his.
Oh no, that section there is all just salaries.
I thought so. It says salaries and wages. Now you sound like us. Go to the staffing page and find him. And he's under admin, I believe. That's where my little note says.
Yeah, and this is the water technician crew leader.
Right. And he's under Utilities Public Works Administration on page 7. That's where you'll find him. Yeah, you'll see the whole benefit package there. And I will say, the dollar amount's the same. 72. So it also says water technician crew leader over here.
Yeah, it does. I have it in. It's either right in both places or wrong in both
It's
places.
wrong in both places.
Say it sounds like it's wrong.
Yeah. And Major Courtney's wrong in a couple of places too.
Yes.
We made it a 5. Are we still looking at 7? Still looking at the 7.
He makes about as much as the rest.
It's because he has the additional licenses that have been added. I don't know how many. I don't think his overtime is included in that. Yeah, his overtime's not included in that. No, it's not.
Go to your staffing plan and look at your hours, Miss Jones.
I did.
Okay, how many hours does it show? 2,080 or 2,280?
280. They also 280.
Not all of them. If you go down, there's a lot that say different
Oh,
hours.
you're right. I see that. But he's not one of them
I understand. I was just asking.
because he's salaried. The crew leader's not salaried.
That supervisor is not salaried.
Why not?
That is a question for your former city manager. That position was created by Terry. That salary was
I'm
created by
asking
Terry.
you.
I didn't have anything to do with it. I didn't sign PAF. That would be Jonathan and Terry that signed PAF.
Does he not report to you?
Yes, ma'am.
I thought he did.
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, I know he does. I'm asking the question I know the answer to.
I mean, the answer is licenses. You guys have within your CBA, and prior to him even becoming in that
I
position,
already told her that. I knew that.
you have licenses, and those licenses are state licenses. They're not 5-hour classes or 8-hour classes. They're licenses.
And all his licenses have to do with the jobs he's currently doing.
He is actively a field supervisor over the collection system, the wastewater system, the stormwater, the water, and the gas. He field supervises staff in all of those different
I
divisions.
knew he was water and gas. I didn't realize he was super.
Yes, ma'am. As a matter of fact, he is part of the apprenticeship program that Terry signed the contract through the U.S. Department of Labor, and he's one of your apprentices, and he's getting his wastewater license. And the U.S. Department of Labor,
But he doesn't have it yet.
the U.S. Department of Labor requires within that 2-year program, which we're in the last 6 months of, to have raises at increments. And that contract was signed a year and a half ago, that they required in order for us to participate in a journeyman license program, the city had to contractually agree with the U.S. Department of Labor to do increments of salary increases at a specific rate. Your wastewater
I'm sorry, say
operators-
another one of those things we don't know about.
Your 2 wastewater, again, that's above me. Your 2 wastewater operators are in the program. An admin assistant, Christy, is getting that license because she does the reporting for it. Alex is in there because he's over the stuff, and I've almost completed my wastewater stuff. So, a lot of us are at the tail end of it.
Page 60. Just to me, it just seems like a 60. 60. To me, it just stands out. $10,000 for fuel. Just seems like a lot.
Not much different than any other department.
Yeah, I know. It still seems like across the board.
That's for vehicles.
Yeah.
Everyday use.
I'm assuming.
And they spent it this year. Yeah, I mean, it's projected. They're over that projection right now, so. That's a lot of driving around in a little city. But I'm sure they do it. I don't have anything on 64, but that's where we are.
Just before we jump over there, I'm just gonna say, like, if you look at the airport fund, they've got $12,000 budgeted for fuel, and the airport, they're not driving around. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but they're not driving around like the utility workers are down on these streets. So I don't understand why you're concerned.
Just across the board, it's a lot. 12,500 for the airports, way up there.
12,000.
That's the thing we like to answer.
Yeah. So,
Thought you were asleep back there, Ben.
no. So yeah, the airport uses a lot in mowing operations. We have a lot of grass, of grass.
About that.
So I.
At 400,
Yeah, it's way more than 400.
2,400
Yeah, the whole airport's about 2,000, and over 1,000 of it is mobile, and we have to keep and maintain that. There's a lot of standards that go there, but yeah, we use that. We help the fire department out with 90 rec that they use on their brush trucks, and like there's a lot of uses that our fuel goes to. So yeah, 10,000 for them. I'm surprised it's not higher.
Sorry, I didn't mean to throw you under the bus. I was just trying to do a comparison.
No, absolutely.
You're driving. What's next?
Anything in fiber?
I just said 64, so let's go. If anybody has a question, I don't have one.
Well, if we're going to grant them to buy new generators, we need to put the existing ones in a secure place out of the weather. You don't. Right, the ones that were purchased for the lift stations. If we're going to go with the other ones, with the natural gas and all that, we need to do something with those, just not have them sit out.
Build a cover over them.
Something.
You guys have a location. Y'all store generators.
We'll get with Mr.
They're probably under Mike's electric guy.
Do you guys have a big generator cover? You have a small office?
He doesn't even have an office. Don't start that. He's lucky he doesn't have an office, period. He has a corner.
Okay.
Much less a place to put his stuff.
We don't really have no place to put them right now, except in
need to build a pole barn of some kind.
I've been needing that for years.
I know you have. You need a barn for your poles. We'll talk about that too, right? A rack to put your poles on. A rack to put your poles on so they won't be on the ground. And a place to store your generators.
Air sign would be nice down there, though.
Oh yeah.
Dixie Lily.
Wouldn't that be something?
Yeah.
Didn't it just sell to somebody? For sale signs down, let's put it that way.
They bought it for 1.5 or so, and they're going to flip it for like $3 million. And I begged your previous city manager to bring it to you guys at 1.5, and he wouldn't. So maybe we could offer them 1.6.
She said no, because she's not into.
It's
Oh wow, that's a great that's a great warehouse.
It's
for us though. It's not to sell. It's for storage.
no, it would be for us.
It would be for us, not for to
But,
sell property.
You know, it'd be a perfect thing
I'm
for
not
her
for
to take
rental
care of.
property. Is what I'm not for.
You're going to make
And
me
I'm
take
still
care of
not,
it too.
so I'll be right here all day saying
You
that.
make me
No, you can just
cut the grass.
take your one thing and
Wouldn't that be a great place to store all that stuff? Yeah. I've been in there. That's a great building.
Beautiful building.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Big enough for a blimp, huh?
All right, where we at?
We're to asking Laura again if she decided she's staying. I saw her leave and come back. I'm hoping she made up
Don't
her mind.
answer that.
Yes, I want her.
I just wanted to talk to Mr. Eckert and remind him about the cat colony meeting that we're having next week.
He's not here. Where is he?
He was outside,
Oh.
and then of course he and
That's
Mr.
not
Penny
what
were
you're supposed
together,
Oh,
and so they talked a lot.
Oh, great. All right. I thought you were out there making up your mind.
All right, Steven. So we're at a point where we don't have to find any money anywhere else. Everything is good.
I think we actually saved some more.
We saved some money. Yep. I'm gonna leave the CRA alone for now. That helps, but I do have a plan if we have to reverse our ground on that part. Everything else, got some action items to do some research, get some information, but otherwise, the budget is really more about making some title corrections.
So you're gonna divide these departments up, or is that what you're saying?
Yes. Well, yeah. Animal shelter and animal control goes to police, and code enforcement.
That would be no.
So no, I will take that. Basically, that there's a separate department. I'll have to make sure it's completely separate for that. Move that position down, so it's closer to police. And then again, there's a couple of titles that I've got to correct for other positions.
You had a question.
Yes, ma'am. I was just gonna say that Miss Sue has department head managers meetings pretty regularly. We can brainstorm some ideas for this problem because that's kind of what you pay us for.
I think we got it figured out.
Okay.
Maybe not. I'll give one of those that are not. Public participation? Or is it a budget question? Oh, good.
And I might have heard wrong. At the very beginning, are we going to 7 mils or are we staying at 6.75?
6.75.
So then, I might be confused on page 14 there.
Yeah, I already caught that. That needs to be. There's a what he's saying. Sorry to cut you off. On the very first revenue line, I didn't have that linked. Up page 14. Everything else is fine. It's already in there, but I usually put a little bracket in there with the 7. I've already changed that in our version.
Is it calculated based on 7 or 6.7?
No.
I'm sorry,
6.7.
There is no page 14 in that area.
It's the very first page of the general fund. Very first line.
Sorry. I'm in the property tax line where the millage is. Okay, sorry.
It's just noted as the old 7, but everything's calculated under 6.75.
Perfect.
Right.
Oh yeah, I see that now.
Sue, was it you telling me that the county set their millage rate?
It
Was
was,
it you
I think
saying?
it was Lamar.
I mean, they would have been required to set for their trim.
I started to say somebody sent me something about what, and I thought it was you.
I have
You
not.
sent me the dollars. I'm
Yeah, curious to see what they do.
and the fire assessment. You sent me all that at one time. I'm pretty sure.
All right, so we're gonna go to item 4, public participation. This is the second time that you have the opportunity to speak for 5 minutes. Is there anyone who wants to speak at this time? No. All right, if we have no one, we will go to item 5, adjournment. Can I get a motion?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Got a motion? Who said that?
Aaron. I will second it.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed say nay. Ayes have it 4-0. Have a good night at 8:50.
All of a sudden.